Thank you, everyone, for being here for this experiment. This is our live recording of Many Lumens with our special guest co-host, Rashid Zakat, and our host, J Wortham. I have to read this because this is being recorded for audio, so I want to make sure it's accurate. Hello and welcome to a live recording of BlackStar Project's signature podcast, Many Lumens, where we talk about and find meaning in the intersections of art, social change, and popular culture. I'm your host. Just in case, it says here, Maori Karmael Holmes. And today, I'm joined by my best friend, the multi-hyphenate Rashid Zakat.
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? So this evening, we have the pleasure of speaking with the talented, the iconic J Wortham. Jay is a, oh yeah, please, no, let's do that thing. No, let's do that thing. Jay is a sound healer, a Reiki practitioner, an herbalist, and a community care worker oriented towards healing, justice, and liberation.
Jay is a longtime journalist and staff writer for the New York Times Magazine. They are also a co-host of one of my favorite podcasts, Still Processing, with Wesley Morris, and Jay also co-edited the 2020 visual anthology, Black Futures, along with Kimberly Drew. Currently, they are working on a book titled Work of the Body, about the body and dissociation for Penguin Press.
Dope. We're really excited to talk to Jay. I'm personally curious to find out a little bit more about community care, their practice around that, their new book that's coming, and what they think about the future of AI, the Barbie movie, I think Beyonce, we gotta throw some Beyonce questions in there, and long distance Reiki and a lot more. So yeah, let's give it up one more time.
So I noticed in your bio that you list body work and healing first and not your journalism. So can you talk a little bit about, why? What is your main focus right now?
First, let me just say thank you both for inviting me to be here. I'm so excited. I stand in I'm like CEO and CFO and like CMO of like the Many Lumens cult like fan club. So just to say that, y'all are powerhouses. I also love being invited to Philly. I grew up coming here. My dad is raised in Philly. My two older sisters still live here, so it's just very special for me to come and feel like I'm contributing something to a city that contributed a lot to me growing up. I just wanted to say that real quick. It's so funny in my bio because I feel like people are always like, are you employed? Like, do you have a job? You know what I mean? And I'm like, you wouldn't know, but I do. But I also think that the work that I try to do for my immediate community and then people around me is the most important thing. And I also feel like because I have been a journalist for so long and been at the Times for so long, that's been such a crucial part of my identity in my 20s. And it also felt at a certain point, like into my 30s, to detangle that and to sort of let go of some of that institutional security and safety and to really think about what mattered to me. And so it is those practices, it is those healing modalities. I mean, it is thinking about what it means to try to, practice some sort of care for myself and for others as being the thing that I do versus like the thing I do for work.
Yeah, are these long-time interests of yours, or were these pandemic, discoveries? Like, sort of, how did you get into these modalities?
Yeah, I really love that question because I have always been trying to heal things with like sticks and twigs, and like, my parents have always just been like, please put that down. Like, what are you doing? That is not the way. But I also grew up in a very Southern and a very Black Southern tradition of not always having access or inherent trust in medical institutions and kind of using what you have, so like drinking pot liquor or putting garlic on everything, tussin on everything. I mean, it's just like the way that my parents raised me, I had some skepticism about when I was younger. And then when I got older, I had that thing where you're like, oh, these are actually gifts because these are ways of thinking and ways of honoring other ways of being beyond what we're told we're supposed to pay attention to. So it's been lifelong interest. And then right before the Panty Part 1, I had actually done sound teacher training. And it was kind of a miracle because I think there were maybe, how many of us were there? 10 or 12 that came from all over. Like some people flew in, people took buses, like we all met upstate New York in late February of 2019. So it's kind of a miracle that nobody brought the virus. And we were in this incredible spaceship of a schoolhouse for 2.5 weeks, doing breath work, cacao, sound baths, just like really intensive healing that was also for us, but then we were learning how to hold space, how to be trauma-informed, how to be aware of, the needs of people of the global majority. And that was the last massive community thing. I mean, massive, it felt really massive, but that was the last big community-oriented thing I did for then almost 2 years, because we basically came back, and then it was like, not too long after, went into lockdown. So I think for me, it got really serious during that time. I was still able to practice very small. I would give small sound baths in people's backyards, and my practice always prioritizes Black trans folks first and foremost, and then my day job supplements that, so folks don't have to pay. And then beyond that, it's like trying to serve a cutie POC, queer, trans, BIPOC community. And so actually now it's really interesting because I am getting booked for a lot of sound baths. And it's so funny because I'm always like, oh yeah, I do that, and it does, but it has become a regular thing. And so it's actually been really kind of incredible. And then my other healing modalities, I did do my breathwork training during the pandemic, which was pretty cool. And then before that, I had gotten initiated in Reiki. So now and then herbalism I've been studying since I was very small, and watching my mom and aunts do things. And now it's become more and less formalized over the years, but I feel like it's a lifelong study. And now all those things are kind of blending together and becoming a facilitator and a co-facilitator in addition to writing. But it feeds the writing too, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, I'm curious too. I mean, I came to your work when writing about tech and technology, and I'm so curious because there's sort of this technological side, but then there's this other, like you say, playing with sticks, sort of nature, healing. And what's the relationship between those two things? Is it a push-pull? Does one feed the other?
Yes, oh my gosh, I really love that question. And I kind of fell into writing about technology. It wasn't what I thought I was going to do. It was when I was becoming a writer, becoming a journalist. I feel like I became a journalist first and then I became a writer. But when I was training as a journalist and interning at lots of different places, one of the places I had the most productive and generative internships was at Wired magazine, and they orient towards technology and the culture of technology. So that's kind of how I was priming myself. I was like 22, so I was just like, let me just give them what they need. But it turned out that I was really interested in it. Like, it actually made a lot of sense to me. I was thinking about the way that my lives were changing, the way that my life was changing, the lives of the people around me were evolving, and it all had to do with screens, devices, social media. So it made a lot of sense to be curious about it. And the conversations that we were having back then are so different from the ones we were having now. There wasn't any acknowledgement of, higher levels of Black and POC adoption, how we shape these communities, how they take all their notes from us. I mean, we weren't able to talk about any of that, but I was noticing it. So it's been a really interesting journey. And I feel like the two things, maybe there hasn't been a tension, but maybe one offsets the other. Like, being so immersed for those early years into thinking about technology and paying attention to everything, using everything. I mean, it used to be my job to be on social media, which is really, we all know now, is like draining, exhausting, addictive. So I think I needed the other work and the other, more nature-oriented time to help offset the intensity of the work I was doing, if that makes sense.
No, it does. Almost sort of this intensity of screens and then getting out into the real world and getting out into spirit, for sure, for sure.
What I love about both of them is you're talking about, I was thinking about an early blog, I think, called Rhizome, and it was like a technology project.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about you like getting these sticks and stones and just like mapping and roots and like technology, or even like the net requires mapping, right? And they do have a connection, even if it's not necessarily one we would think about. I would love to ask you something that is like a Many Lumens question, and that is, what did Baby J want to do, and how did you end up in journalism?
I want to say something else really quickly about technology before I answer that, which is that I also am coming into this awareness now as an adult that there are just so many technologies that have nothing to do with devices and screens. Like reading is a technology, intuition is a technology, somatic knowledge, like listening to our bodies is a technology. Like, our bodies are incredibly exquisite computers and machines, better than any device will ever have. And so the ability to just pay attention to what we know and to read it is this incredible somatic technology? So I think that's something too, just still thinking about the blend of those two questions. I think I'm coming into that awareness now as well, about all the innate technologies we already have and use every day. Okay, Maori, so Baby J, who I love so dearly, it depends on which Baby J we're asking, but the Baby J I'm thinking of is like 8-year-old me, kind of looks how I did now, big glasses, lots of curly hair everywhere. Wanted to be a professional baseball player. And when I said that in class in maybe 3rd grade, everyone laughed. And it really still hurts when I think about it. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do. And I think I came into journalism very haphazardly. I come from people who are very, pension-oriented, salary-oriented, yes, go to college, never a question if I was gonna go to college, but was one of the first in my family to go, of my cousins and me. But everyone was just like, we don't know what you're gonna do there, but you need to come out with a job. So I really had a very stressful 4 years of just like, what major will result in a job, which is not a question that most people are asking in college. I mean, people are like, well, then you become a doctor or a lawyer, and I was like, this is wild. These are the options, or it's just kind of a free-for-all. But I chose doctor, and so that was, not a challenge for me intellectually, but spiritually it was really draining and not what I wanted to do. And so during that time, I was feeling very adrift, and I went abroad, and I went to London, which was just such a great place to go as like a 19-year-old. I had a very fun, big gay life, and it was amazing, and I didn't talk to anybody. I was just like, I'm out here. Like, people would come visit, and they'd be like, where? I was going by Jenna then. Someone was like, where's Jenna? And I was just like, in the tree. Like, we don't know. Out here. Like, where are they? No one could find me. And that was great. But while I was there, I was meeting a lot of creatives and a lot of people who taught me the art of like the double hustle. It's like you do the thing to pay the bills, and then you do the thing that you love, which makes so much sense now. We all know that. But I just didn't grow up in a house where people did that. You just did the thing that paid the bills. But my parents also used to tell me, make sure you enjoy what you do, because you will do it for a long time. And I feel like that was also really instilled in me, like how long I'd be working. So yeah, I feel really lucky to have parents who are just like, you just need to be able to care for yourself. And however you do it, we support. So when I came back, I was like, okay, I think I figured this out. I want to do something creative, and I just need a job that pays the bills. Being a doctor is not going to be that job. And I just started taking a bunch of graduate seminars in writing, creative writing, actually one class called, I want to say, grassroots publishing, and that was really what got me, like, opened my eyes to the world of magazine writing and journalism. And so that was just kind of the path from there.
I love the, no, go for it. We should have rehearsed. I love that doctor is a healer, though, and I love that through line. But I just wanted to ask you who were some of the early writers that, even in the back of your mind before you considered it, who were some of those folks?
Wow, what a great, great, great question. Well, my best friend in college gave me a thick tome of Nikki Giovanni poems, and I know there was a film screening of hers, about her, that was here, that I want to see. I wasn't able to see it today. And I feel like just her around the way writing really spoke to me, and I think it also helped start to demystify realms to me that just a kid in Virginia thought I could access. Like, I was like, oh, she's writing about everyday stuff, and she's this incredible, nationally recognized poet, but her work is so relatable and accessible. I think it helped me understand that maybe I could be a creative. And then June Jordan has always been a longtime influence because she's so multifaceted, and she's an incredible cultural critic and has just been, or was just, her whole life, which is something I only kind of recently have understood the breadth of. But I feel like I got to read some of her in college. And early, a lot of really rough-hewn, just like handmade zines really spoke to me. I think the idea that people could just publish stuff and it could look however it looked was really meaningful, because I just had this idea of, that's what they do. Like, it's going to be very hard for me to do this kind of, and then I ended up working at the New York Times, just so wild. But I think I just had this idea of like, I'm never going to be at that level of professionalism, so I want to go kind of a more DIY, punky, very Cree summer. I was like very into making my own clothes during that time era. So I kind of thought that would be my path. It's true. Listen,
I love that album.
It's duality. It's all the things.
Many levels.
I'm thinking about your writing, and I'm also thinking about Black futures too. And I'm curious, do you consider yourself an archivist?
Wow. I'm going to say no because I know that's a very real thing that people do and spend their whole lives training and learning how to do, and it's something that I'm only starting to understand the rigor and the depth and the knowledge required to do that. I do like to think of myself now as someone who is a steward and tries to maintain or be accountable to people's legacies, if that makes sense. Like thinking about the work that so many incredible Black feminist scholars do. Like I saw Alexis Pauline Gumbs in the audience here earlier, which was just like one of those moments when you're just like, you know what I mean? I don't get starstruck if well, Rihanna, but like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not like a famous person. Like I see a famous person. I know, Beyonce. I did see her recently and I was like, I didn't freak out. I was just like, hello. But like someone like Alexis, I'm just like, you know what I mean? I like lose my mind. But I feel like the work that she's done to just always bring forward Audre Lorde's name, to always remind us when it's Toni Cade-Bambara's birthday, I feel like that really inspires me to understand the ways in which, as, Black feminists, Black femme-adjacent folks, that's how we keep each other's memories and names alive, and that's the work that I feel very invested in doing, and not just necessarily going backwards, but doing it very much in the right here, right now. And so that's kind of the context that I see Black Futures in, where it was like, what does it look like to make an artifact now that can stand for tomorrow?
Oh, just to follow that up, I'm curious about your own legacy. Like, what do you imagine that being, or what would you want that being?
Oh my God, woo, Chile. I don't know. I mean, no debt. No, I'm just kidding.
Listen.
Ashe.
Right? Debt-free, please. That's a really humbling question because I don't really think about that. And maybe I should. Maybe I should actually, because I've been really working on trying to understand a vision for my life, and it feels like that's a real luxury, a luxurious thing to have, like a vision for your life versus the way I live kind of now, which is very day to day. Just trying to think about sometimes the next 24, like what's just the next thing I need to do to be okay and to make sure my people are okay. But it would be really exciting to think at scale about my life beyond just sort of what I'm trying to do right now or this year. And so, I don't know, I might take that as a real invitation.
Okay. I was going to ask you to do a rapid fire, but I won't put you on the spot for that right now, so. No.
Okay, I'm like kind of stressed. I'm like, I need a legacy. What's it gonna be?
Well, to be fair, Jay, someone asked me that same question this week, and I also didn't have an answer. I live very project-based, from project to project, not hanging out in the projects, although that's okay as well.
That's how I live, personally. I don't know about y'all, so.
But I also didn't have an answer, but I wonder if Rashid has an answer because Rashid is a Capricorn, and I wonder if what your sign is and if that is why you don't. You know what I mean? I'm very curious.
What's your big three? I'll tell you mine, but I'm curious.
Okay, an Earth sign will have a legacy though, because y'all.
Well, I'm a Taurus, but I don't have any other planets in Earth at all. I'm like all air and fire. So that's why I was curious.
We're going to put a poll out for you guys of what is Maori's legacy at the end of Many Lumens. No. Right. It's like part of it, right? This is like a sliver of the legacy, I think. But that's a conversation for another day.
What is your big three, though?
Okay, so my sun in Scorpio, but I also have 5 Scorpio placements, which I love to say. I was at a dinner recently with a couple of other 5 ex-Scorpios, and then everyone just slowly moved away from us, and we were like, smart, wise. But that TikTok of all the cats on the table and they're all looking up at the sky and it's that incredible soundtrack. Anyway, it's I'm like, that's it, we're plotting. Even if we're not plotting, we were plotting. Okay, Scorpio sun, a Gemini moon, which is really sweet. And Gemini moon's also, the moon is the archivist. The moon is the keeper of legacy and information. And so there is something to that I should think about, which would be kind of nice. And then my rising, Taurus rising. Okay. So, yeah.
Okay, that's putting a puzzle together. I'm also thinking about the Gemini moon in terms of writing as well, and sort of language, communication. But the Scorpio sun is like this deep dive, you know. I'm thinking about the party you said as well, and I'm imagining 5 Scorpios just staring you staring you at a party, and it just getting really, really cold.
It was like deeply sexy and also murdery. You know what I mean? It was like everyone was like really turned on but scared for their lives.
Right.
And we were all like, yeah, that's what it is.
I discovered I want to say like 90% of the people that I've dated has their Venus is in Scorpio.
Yes.
And I'm like, damn, okay, that's what it is. It's a little sexy, little murdery.
But did they have plans for their lives?
Yes, yeah. There were some plans that went in some different directions.
Okay.
Yeah. Nonetheless.
That was such a Capricorn answer. It was like, I'm just going to completely be over here
Right.
and just keep it moving.
Give you the most business answer I can give. For context, Sun in Capricorn, Moon in Capricorn, and Taurus rising. So all Earth in the front, just a big ass brick wall.
I really think Rashid's astrology is wrong. Like, I don't buy it, but, you know.
Yeah.
Wait, what do you think should be in the mix?
I don't know, but it just air first.
More air, yeah.
Definitely seems like there'd be some Libra somewhere.
Yes.
My
Or
Mars.
Gemini,
Mars.
You know. Yeah. But, I mean, in the first 3, it's just like, you're not a brick wall. You are, like, too lovely for that astrology.
Oh, I'll take that. I guess we should talk more.
Yeah, I think we should talk to
We can talk about astrology all night.
I mean, let's go. Let's go.
Let's have him go.
Actually, well, I asked just because we're talking about Earth signs, and I'll talk about everybody's favorite Virgo, Beyonce. Have you seen her? Have you been to the Renaissance show yet?
I have been anointed in the Renaissance. Yes.
How many times?
What was that?
How many times?
Just one, but I'm going to go again.
Okay. What was the experience like?
I mean, look at my face. Amazing! I mean, someone earlier today was like, they were leaving to go to see Beyonce, and they were like, I'm gonna go to a Beyonce screening, and I was like, no, but it is a full multimedia experience. I mean, I was thinking so much about how she's also giving us a renaissance of her career and her life, and I mean, I think every show's been kind of different, but the show that I was at, I was so moved by how much fun she was having, you know, and just how much, like, what a wicked sense of humor. Virgos, you gotta watch out for, you know what I mean? Like, because the thing about...
We're both members of the Virgo Mom Survivor Club, so...
We made it.
Wow, welcome. Welcome. Now, I don't have a Virgo mom, but also, like, deep welcome. Because here's the thing. A Scorpio has the drive and desire to cause harm, but a Virgo knows how they're gonna do it. You know what I'm saying?
Listen.
Like, a Virgo has the blueprint.
They have the plans and a
They
Google
have the
Doc somewhere.
plans.
Listen.
And the tools, and then you're just like, oh, but I was kind of kidding, and the Virgo's like, me too, you know, and then you're just like running for your life. But, okay, so the show that I was at, Beyonce did this incredible thing where she sang Love on Top, and then she just was like, now you all sing. And you know that song just keeps, the key changes just keep going up, and the audience is like, we're like, we're the one that I love, and then she goes, keep going, and everyone's like, baby, it's you, you know, like, and then she goes, keep going for 5 times, and I was crying because she was just maniacally laughing, and I felt like she was just like, you cannot do what I can do, like, not that you needed a reminder, but just in case anyone here, it's like when she was asked to prove about the national anthem. Remember that? When they were like, Beyonce didn't sing the national anthem, and they held a press conference, and then she came and just sang it all, and then goes, any questions, but didn't take any questions, just left. It felt like that. And I was just dying. I was like, wow, she's on one. And then there was this moment when she sang a Crazy in Love medley, and then she had her entire band just continue to flesh it out, and just, you had this like 12-piece band just playing Crazy in Love, and I was like, Beyonce also wants us to know it's not just the current songs that can handle an orchestra rendition, it's the whole catalog. Like, I just was like, she just seems so confident and so, you know, I felt like we were really witnessing someone's philosophy on life and love and an evolution of it. And it's complicated, right? I mean, I think, you know, I live in New York and I live in Brooklyn, and my communities are really grieving the murder, and content warning, I'm sorry to say, but it feels really urgent not to mention it, a community member named O'Shea Sibley who, I'll just say if you want more information, look it up because I don't want to unintentionally bring something up or activate anybody. But this person was grievously harmed while singing Beyonce and performing at a gas station not too far from where this show's having. And I think I'm really sitting in sort of the tension of the precarity of visibility and what it means for Beyonce to invite almost 100,000 people to sing You Won't Break My Soul in a stadium in New Jersey and really mean it and feel transformed in that spaceship of a space, and then what it means to have somebody doing the exact same thing outside of the safety and the economic comfort of that, right? Because it costs a lot of money to see Beyonce. And so just thinking about these two tensions and what we do with all of that. And I don't think it's Beyonce's to solve, but I think the concert just brings up these questions just in the way in which it is this transformative force that has swept the world since May through the end of September. So I do see it as an invitation to talk about Black culture and community and commodification and safety and violence. We're in a really violent moment right now, so
Sure.
yeah.
For sure. No, thank you for lifting that up too.
Yeah.
I think I would love to talk to you about your transition from technology into culture writing, and what sort of prompted that for you. Was it was there a particular interest that moved you into that space?
This is a really good segue because I think for me, it just started to feel really urgent to talk and write about things beyond technology. I feel like there was a certain narrative that was being uplifted, that I was uplifting, which was about a certain type of, a certain type of technologist, a certain type of person who was creating some technology that lots of people were using, and they're making a lot of money from it. And I started to feel like, what role am I having in the boom of Silicon Valley? Like, it just sort of started to feel a little confusing to me. And so there were just other things that felt more urgent and things that I wanted to write about. And I wanted to have a more dynamic experience as a journalist. I just got tired of writing about a particular kind of cishet white guy, if I'm honest. Like, I just was like, how many more of these meetings can I sit in? And it's not to say that I didn't feel like those ideas and companies and products weren't interesting. I just didn't, there's a particular way in which you write those stories. I was in the business section and I just felt like I needed more spaciousness and room to write about it from a critical lens and have a criticality to it that you can't if you're writing just purely like reporting on the news. So that prompted the shift, and it's actually kind of amazing because that's also what prompted Black Futures, was a desire to push myself and to do more arts writing and arts criticism writing, in particular Black culture writing. And I didn't want to wait for a place to tell me what I could and couldn't do. And so I was just like, let's make a book, And then 5 years later, because books take a very long time, that came out. And so I think it was that. I think it was me wanting to really expand, also feeling like there were more threads that need to be pulled together. And I think, it's if I think about the timeline for that in my life, it was probably 2015, 2016. And so the world is also starting to have a very different conversation about social justice and civil rights and, vulnerability and, precarity as Black people in the world. And I was just sort of like, threw my iPhone across the room and it was like, enough of this, I want to do something else. But it felt really urgent. And so that was sort of, I wanted to push myself, but I also didn't want to wait for permission to do it either.
I'm just thinking about the collaborations, like Still Processing is a collaboration with Wesley, Black Futures is a collaboration with Kimberly, but then also the conversations that you get to have working on both of these projects. And I'm just curious are there any gems or anything that you've learned in some of these conversations that's affected you, that stuck with you, or that you've been carrying?
Yes, okay, that is such a brilliant question because being a writer is such a lonely process. Like, you're just kind of, like, I always imagine myself like hunched over like a little crone, and I'm like, you know what I mean? Like in a darkened room, just like lit by the glow of a computer screen. I do think that's kind of true to life, how it feels to be a writer a lot of the times, just sort of like stuck with your own demons, so to speak. And so it was really incredible to collaborate with other people and learn other ways of making things, other ways of hearing input, and those relationships are and still are two of the most important relationships in my life, which is also really strange. It's a strange thing to say, like to be like, I have these business relationships that are familial. Like that's usually a thing that you don't want. I mean, you two know a lot about this, I guess, which I would love to hear you talk about it. I don't know, if you feel comfortable, why not? We can talk about it. Didn't the moon just go into Aries? So it's like a fiery, fiery topic. But, I feel like I learned a lot about thinking about care too. I think I learned a lot about how the work always gets done, but it's most important that everybody's okay in the process. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of times when Kimberly and I would come together to work on Black features, sometimes we wouldn't work on the book at all, and it would be like, stressful because we'd be like, well, we really do have this deadline, but also what today called for was something really nurturing because we're both high-functioning, overworked, highly visible people. And sometimes we'd get together and just be like, I think we just need to go sit in the park or get a pedicure. And it would be like, great. And that's also work. I think it's easy to feel like, it's easy to forget yourself when you're a high-functioning person, and that the goal is to always be outputting, to always be creating, to always be making something. And it's hard, we have that saying, it's like empty cups can't pour, but it's so true. It's a cliche because it's true. And I think I learned that, and I definitely learned that with Wesley, because don't get Mr. Moore started, because 20 minutes later, he'll still be talking about the beans he had for lunch, and you're like, 20 minutes, I'll time it, and I'll be like, we're still talking about this, and I love that. I'm really just like, wow, he's really never in a hurry, and I think that is, for better or for worse, but
Because he's from Philly. No, I'm just kidding.
I think his priorities are right, and I think that he experiences life very fully as a critic. I think he sees the same, I know he sees the same amount of value in thinking critically about the meal that he just had and the film that he just watched, and he's just not afraid to talk about it. And I think I just really learned that from him. It just can't be all business all the time. But I will say that when I do that with him, he doesn't always respond. I just sent him that really great meme of Amy Adams from Arrival, where she's holding up if you've seen that movie, she's holding up the whiteboard to try to talk to the aliens, and it's like, are you here to see Beyonce? You know what I mean? It's so funny. And he didn't respond. It's been 2 days, but that's okay. It's okay. We'll talk about it when I see him again. But I do think I've learned a lot about, just letting go of the steering wheel sometimes, trusting that the work will happen, that we all are on the same page, we're all in the same car going to the same destination. It's just we're going to take different routes. So I've learned to really relax and just take things a little bit easier with myself, which has been such a gift, and that's where I'm arriving today, which is, let me tell you, is a blessing.
It's interesting not to talk too much about me, Rashid, but he is definitely on a different schedule than most people, but it's definitely from me. And that is something I've had to learn to appreciate as well, because it's like, okay, we won't have that planned in advance, and that's all right.
He may not come when you want him, but he'll be there right on time.
Just like Jesus. I really love still processing, and I have ever since, began, I've just been talking about it. And one of the things that I love is that it is an equal amount of rigor as it is love. I have so much admiration for critics who bring their love into their work. And one of my favorite episodes, and one that we talk about a lot, is the Kanye and Lauryn Hill, basically Gemini episode. And it was just no one could have done that episode but y'all, just bringing it full circle, musically, but also their life experience. And it was just I've never seen any kind of reportage in that manner, where it was because you knew these catalogs back and forth, because you knew these people's histories, it was sort of, it was just phenomenal. And most of your episodes are similarly phenomenal, and I just appreciate that work.
Oh, thank you. That's really kind. Thank you. I think we've done 3 episodes about Kanye at this point, which appropriate.
Respect.
It needs volumes, apparently. I think we're done for now, but volumes were
We'll see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a little bit about what you were saying about visibility and being a really visible person. And I'm curious about how do you navigate boundaries, IRL and URL, right? Online and offline.
Wow, I'm still working on that. I am really working on that. I think that my relationship to the internet has shifted so much lately because I am working on a lot of bigger scale projects that require just more of my mind. And so I'm really precious about now where my cognitive energy goes, but except for TikTok, because I listen, I call it like watching my stories. So like I love TikTok. And they're always like, do a big TikTok story. And I'm like, you can't take the thing I love. Like you cannot it cannot become work. Yeah. It cannot become work. So I've just really resisted it. But it's so funny because I feel like I go into like a fugue state and I'll be like usually in the bathtub or something and I'll just be watching and just giggling and just be like texting people. And then the next day I'll be like, oh, my entire outbox is TikTok URLs and no one responded. Like, cool, yeah, no problem. You know, it's like, I find that to be very embarrassing, but also kind of thrilling.
Scorpio.
Right, exactly. It's like the perfect combo. I'm like, they love it. And everyone's just like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, I'm working on, I do think that having taken a really hard reset in 2021 and taking a sabbatical did really reset my boundaries around work and my personal life. I don't know how I navigate in the world though. Like I think I'm still figuring that out in terms of, yeah, sometimes being a little recognizable. I try to live like in the cuddy if I can. Doesn't always work. But sometimes it's really fun. I think I'm also just trying to move through life in a way where I'm just always trying to be very easy and dilated and just like whatever's happening is what's happening. And like, I was like in a bodega the other day, like trying to get some tampons off of a high shelf, and this person was just talking to me, and they were like, I love your work and this, and I was like, word. And I was like, can you get that for me? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, thanks. I was like, so what's your name? You know, and I think before that would have really upset me, like, I'm trying to take care, you know what I mean? And I think now I'm just like, I don't know, it's life. Like, I don't know what to do anymore, and so I'm just trying to really accept everything that comes and also really develop a sense of listening to my body, you know, and really like, okay, I'm feeling really grumpy today, or I'm feeling kind of resentful that I have to work or something, and then it's like, okay, but what's underneath that? And it's like, oh, I need more playtime. Like, I didn't play enough this week. And maybe I don't always get to play because we're busy adults and humans with real responsibilities, and what are we supposed to do? But when the moment arrives, you know, I was at the beach yesterday for a friend's birthday, and some folks were playing Frisbee, and I just, without even thinking about it, I was like, can I play? And it's like, I'm not good at that game, but I was just like, let me play. Like, let me just play for 20 minutes. And it really did nourish something in me. So I think I'm trying to like let go of an idea of myself as a person and just kind of be a little bit freer, right? Like, what else are we here to do?
Yeah.
That, I think, is a perfect segue to talk to you about your new book, about the body and dissociation. So what inspired you to investigate this?
Yes, thank you for asking. Okay, so what inspired my book? I realized that, I don't know if people know that term, like meat suit. Like it's like, you know, you're like, you put on your meat suit, like you're kind of walking around in your body, but like it feels like something you're wearing, not necessarily something you're inhabiting. And I just had a moment, I think in 2015 actually, when I just realized all of a sudden, I was like, I'm always here. Like I'm not in here. Like I'm here and I'm here. And I just, you know, my solutions at that time would be to drink a lot of caffeine to try to like wake myself up, or drink a lot of alcohol to just like forget that I'm even feeling that way, or just stay so busy that I couldn't really figure out why I felt so off and so weird. But I was in a therapy session, and I still had a white therapist at that time, but she used the word, so it was like already like very contentious, but she was like, I was describing something stressful to her, and she goes, it sounds like you disassociated. And I go, what's that word? Like it was just like that moment when someone says something and you're like, oh no, that's the thing. And it's, I don't know, I just had never come across that word before. And then she got kind of nervous. She was like, no, just don't get so hung up on the thing. Let's just keep talking about how you felt. And I was like, write it, can you spell it for me? Like I was like, I gotta write this down. You know, I need to look into this. And it just became this really interesting obsession. And I used to keep a little notebook, and I was like, let me write down when this is happening, how I'm feeling. Like I felt like I was a detective. I was like, I'm trying to find myself. And it became this like bigger project, and it felt like a book project. I was working on it while I was working on Black Futures. And it was exciting because it was the first time also I realized I had a creative nonfiction project, and a lot of people, a lot of a lot of writers, very established writers, were very kind to me when I was at the beginning of figuring out myself and my journey as a writer. Kiese Lehman, Ta-Nehisi Coates are two, oh my gosh, my brain is just, it's very 6 p.m. What is that other writer's name? It'll come to me in a second. But a lot of people encouraged me really early on and told me keep going. And I think those boosts really got me into that project. And now it's become, I was really obsessed with this idea of like, okay, what does it mean to live outside of your body? What are the historical implications of that for Black people in general? And now it's become this book that's also about what it means to dissociate from societal ideas of who we're supposed to be, to dissociate from ideas of gender, which is like a huge topic in trans studies and mad studies, psychological, like the intersection of understanding what it means to always be pathologized as like crazy or unwell as Black people, and the way you kind of get dissociated from normal society. So it's becoming this like really unwieldy philosophical thing that's so fascinating, which I think is a gift for a book project. Like every time I dive back in, I'm really excited about it.
Is there a time frame for the book, or is that the worst question to ask an artist?
No, it's a great question. I mean, I don't have an answer, but it's a great question because we would all love to know, including me. But I am editing the essays right now, which feels really exciting. So there is a manuscript. It is being edited, and I have a plan. Like, I have a plan for editing it. There wasn't one for a long time. So that feels really exhilarating.
Dope. That's exciting. That's really exciting. See if I can bridge all these things together. I'm thinking about sort of healing and thinking about tech and wondering how you're feeling now about, like there's like the Fitbit and the Oura Ring and these things that are supposed to give us some level of bodily awareness, some connection with our bodies, but is it really connecting us with our bodies and running away with our data? Or I'm curious, do you even use any of that stuff? Track your digital metrics, biometrics rather?
I don't, but I would like to. I'm starting to become a runner, so I think I'm going to use the Nike running app just to track my runs and try to like, just because I normally wouldn't think about that. Like I would just be like, I ran for 20 minutes and it was fine. But I'm becoming part of a community of runners, mostly Black women too, who are having a new relationship to their body through running. I'm not a runner, I hate running. Like working out used to be something I would literally be like, I feel like I would go into the gym or the fitness studio and just like push a button in my brain and like leave everything at the door and just like black out for an hour and then come back and be like, okay, you know what I mean? Like I just didn't want to think about it or feel it. And now it's this way that I am really engaging with my body. So I think I am starting to do that stuff. I do worry about our data, but now everything is owned by, like, didn't Amazon buy Ancestry.com or something? So I don't know. I'm deeply terrified, but I also just feel like it's so late to have those fears, and I don't know what to do about it. But I am open to those devices, although maybe I don't have any. That's the answer. I don't have any right now. Do you have any? What's your relationship?
I don't. I'm always in a debate with my friends that have Apple Watches.
Right.
It's so useful, it fits into my life, but I haven't been able to cross that threshold. You had a Fitbit or a thing?
I own an Apple Watch, but it's not pretty enough to wear. And so I've actually been really fascinated by the Oura Ring because I find them beautiful, and I've been like,
Is that the one?
Well, I don't know because I don't want to buy it and then not use it again, but the Apple Watch I tried, and then I was just like, no. It's bulky, it's gross, but yeah.
I'm with you. I would try it, but I don't know, I can't get on board. I don't have any notifications on my phone, and my phone is always on Do Not Disturb. Like there's 1 hour a day. It's not in work mode or sleep mode. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't want more notifications. I like missing things for now. Yeah.
Same, I don't have most notifications except email, but it's just because I can't handle more than 10 emails in my inbox. So.
Oh, you're one of those.
I am.
Wow, what's that like? So you're an inbox zeroist? I don't know too many.
It's not zero because I use my inbox as for project management. So if it's in there, it needs to be responded. But I do Mercury and Aries, and I respond. Sometimes people will be like, "I just sent that. How did you respond to me?"
Or my favorite is to get a Maori email that just says no.
That is true. I'm quite efficient with the replies, but.
Wow.
I get like 300 emails a day. You know what I mean?
I know you do.
They gotta go.
Oh my gosh. I love hearing how other people run their lives and how people manage their, you know what I mean? It's so interesting.
I'm the total opposite. I think I check email like every 48 hours.
Wow, you're one of those.
I'm one of those.
I think it's a little more than that.
Okay. Oh, wow.
I respond to email every 72 hours. But I get, 30 emails a day versus 300 too. So it's a much slower load too. So, yeah.
We're going to wrap up soon, but I want to ask you about another project that you founded called Sun Love, which is a care practice that centers Black, queer, and trans folks through sound healing, herbalism, breathwork, and more through a justice and harm reduction lens. So can you talk a little bit about how that started and how it's going?
Yeah, so I started Sun Love when I finished my sound teacher training, and I got the name because my friend Tourmaline, who is a filmmaker and an artist and a just incredible person, read my chart and was like, oh, when you were born, there's so much astrology in this, I love this so much, but she was like, when you were born, Venus and the sun were like right on top of each other, and so everything in your chart is infused with this kind of sun love, and she kept saying it over and over again, and I was like, I love that word, and it just really, I love the color gold. I just always want to look like a glazed donut and be glowing. So it's like,
you've succeeded.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm always just like, I want to just look dripping. Anyway, but yeah, so I realized that prior to the panini, I was like, I think I want to try to figure out how to be a facilitator, and whether that means having a practice or having a space or just doing one-off events. I'm still getting back into figuring that out, but that is essentially kind of the hub for all of that. And it's interesting because I was recently lucky enough to go study yoga with a teacher of mine, Amy Meredith Cox, who's a Black feminist, body practitioner, academic, like choreographer, dancer, just like an incredible human. And I went on a yoga retreat with her, and she asked me at the end, we were talking about co-facilitating something together, and I was just like really moved because that had been a dream of mine 4 years ago, but I just kind of forgot. I don't know, it's like this sort of the last handful of years, it's like there's been so much resizing and reorienting around even who we are and what we're doing, and I was just like, I completely forgot that was a goal of mine, like a dream of, like a legacy maybe even, of like trying to think about care and care practices. So that was really exciting to be like, okay, Sun Love, even though I'm not actively working on it in the way that I was a handful of years ago, it is having this resurrection of its own right now, which feels really good.
Yeah. That makes me want to ask, you have any planets in Leo?
Do I have any planets in Leo?
Mm-hmm.
Not that I know of, but astrologers tell me that even when we don't have planets in our chart, we have that energy because it's the whole sky is in. So it's in there somewhere, and I don't know where.
Okay, heard.
Which maybe is
Sun Love.
yeah.
I guess
Yeah.
Leo vibes. Yeah. How much time do we have left?
We have about 7 minutes.
Okay. I'm going to randomly ask, because I haven't seen it yet, about the Barbie movie. Have you seen it yet?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I saw it opening night. I did. I really did. I did. I wanted to do a Barbie aperitivo. No, I wanted to do Oppenheimer aperitivo and then Barbie dinner. But I also just saw this movie last night.
Wait.
Okay,
what was
sorry.
in the Barbie dinner?
Well, I wanted to watch go to a movie where they serve dinner and have like Barbie for dinner.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Like I wanted the heavy bits, you know what I mean? And then I wanted the like fun, like cotton candy for dessert kind of thing with Barbie.
Nice.
So yeah.
What does an Oppenheimer aperitif look like?
Oppenheimer aperitivo is just like,
Aperitivo, sorry.
yeah, it's just sort of like, well, I don't drink, but it's like the idea was kind of like when you go for brunch and then all of a sudden it's like 5 p.m. and you're like, I don't know how many hours have passed or how much money I've spent. It's just like a bomb has gone off in your life. So that's kind of how I was picturing it. But both were so sold out that I couldn't pull it off in the ways that I wanted. So, but it was still fun. I went in like 2 different groups of people, and it was just like both groups were so talky the whole time, and like all Black people, and it was just so fun because we were all just like, "What is this? What is this?" And everyone else was just having like the time of their lives. It was fun.
Well, the last question I want to ask you, we've talked a lot about breath work and, self-care modalities and things like that. But I would love to know where you find refuge, and it doesn't have to be like a wellness practice. Is there anything ridiculous that you do that brings you back to center?
Yes, thank you for asking. Right now, I am really into games, like just straight up old-fashioned game nights. And I'll play any game. Like, I'm not good at a lot of them, but I will truly, except for spades, but I'll show up for like any game that wants to be played. So it's like Uno, dominoes, like Codename, charades. Like, it's just been the last, actually all year, I've been meeting up very regularly with 2 distinct groups of friends. And I'm like, is this okay to say? I think so. One of the groups of friends, everybody likes to get high. And it also becomes very funny because you're just like, what are you talking about? Like, we're always just like, what is going on right now? But it just it's so silly and it's so fun and it's just like such a different way to get to know people. And I'm a sober person. I stopped drinking almost 2 years ago. And so I think for me, like, I can be in a bar and I can hang out and I can go out, but there is something, it's like, I think when I stopped drinking, I got really worried that I wouldn't have easy ways to connect with people and build intimacy. I thought that, the spirits were the only way to build those bonds. And so games have actually been this incredible way to create those relationships. But it's not just the games, it's like the silliness that the games allow for. And it's like you just giggle and you laugh and you get to know how people's mind works. And of course, everyone else is like also imbibing and doing whatever. But I think for me, it's just been really reassuring to have these other like third spaces beyond like a bar or like a very professional event, just to be like in the home. And in New York, we're not really in each other's homes. So it's very special and sacred when someone invites you over. Like it's not a small thing, So it's been like, that's been my refuge for the last year. It's been so fun. We were supposed to have a game night 2 nights ago and it got canceled. And my friend that was hosting was pregnant, so nobody wanted to push her too hard. But we were all like, are you sure? It was like, you can lay down. You don't have to do nothing. And she was like, I can't host y'all N-words. And we were like, okay, okay. Yeah, that was okay. It was so funny in the group thread. Everybody was like, no, boo-boo, it's okay. Like, you don't have to do nothing. And she was just like, I'm going to bed. And we were like, okay.
I'm really, really loving how often play is coming up in this conversation and sort of the parallels between play and healing. My next question has nothing to do with that because I'm just really curious about, are you on Spill?
Oh, yeah.
Or
So
Threads
messy,
or like,
Rashid.
I know, putting it out there in the streets.
I just turned into Spicoli. I'm like, awesome, Threads, Spill. I want to join all these services. I just haven't yet. I don't know. I'm just, I'm really in this moment where I'm thinking so much about like a culture of feeling and not culture of thinking. I feel overthought. Yeah. Like, I don't want to think about more things to think, Like, I don't want to have to think about more things to say. I just want to feel things. Yeah. And I feel like the problem, I'm interested in Spill because it's Black-led and it's former Twitter folks, so I am curious about it, and I reached out to them and was like, oh, we should talk, because I want to support. And I'm also just like, I don't really know what else I want to say. And I personally feel very saturated with other people's ideas, and I'm still taking them all in. But I think that's why I like TikTok so much, because it really is about a feeling or visual comedy or humor in a way that is also about processing culture. It is. Like, TikTok's not silly. It is silly, but it's also really about trying to digest everything that's happening. But I don't really, honestly though, like, the last time I used Twitter, I reshared an article that I thought was really great about concerts and the way people are regathering for the first time in years. And I was just like, this is a really well-written, thoughtful piece. And I reshared it. And then someone wrote back and they were like, yeah, it's all fun and good until you die or something. And I was just like, what? Like, I don't know anymore. I don't know. Like, it feels hard to say things. Yeah. And I think there are other ways I want to say things right now. So. Yeah. Are y'all on Spiller Threads? No.
I signed up just to hold my name.
That's
Speaking
smart.
of legacy.
Same.
That's smart.
That's it.
Same.
I'm not
Same.
on there.
Okay, maybe I'll do that. That's smart. Okay. Yeah.
No, similar to TikTok, though. TikTok for me has been my most recent obsession. I think for a similar reason, because it is a form of play. It feels like it's a lot of play in that app, too, so.
Okay, what's your favorite TikTok? Just like anyone, quickly, what is it?
Oh, wow. Oh, my gosh. Oh, I'm similar to you where,
quick.
like,
yeah.
Oh, what's been the most recent TikTok? Mary! Who breeds your Mary? If you know that TikTok.
I also love the way people who really are into TikTok will just do TikTok sounds, where it's like, Kim Kardashian, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or like, there's no like way to describe it. It's just the stunning, and
right.
Everyone who's not into it is just like,
Yeah, sure. I know we got to wrap it up, but what's your...
Oh my gosh, what are mine? I love Tony Talks, if anybody knows Tony Talks, which I highly recommend checking out. They get remade as like these CGI cartoons, but it's always like Tony with Tony. It's like Tony is always with themselves, and they'll just be like, "Welcome to Starbucks," and then it's like, "I have a graduate degree." It's like very surrealist, absurdist, black humor, and they never go where you think they're gonna go, and there's always like a sing-along with like Tony and Tony. I think that's like high art. Like, I think it's actually one of the most artful TikTok accounts out there. So I highly recommend Tony Talks.
Where?
Tony Talks. But it's weird.
I mean, that's my style, so.
Yeah.
Please, no, you were going to close this out. Let me not.
Yeah, no, I just want to say, Jay, thank you so much.
so
This
much.
has been
Oh,
so
thank
wonderful.
You.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you both so much. I think you're both incredible and so smart and creative. And I'm always here for anything you all are doing. So it's truly my honor to be here tonight.
No,
Thank you.
Samesies. Can we give them a round of applause?